I've been speaking to a lot of small business owners about this topic recently. We see a lot of statistics in the news and so forth about what's going on. For years and years, I actually looked this up to see when this phrase was coined. Good help is hard to find. As near as I can tell, it goes back to about the middle of the 19th century. So it's not new. The difference today is that based on everything that we're seeing in the news and experiencing in our lives, good help is now impossible to find. We see that unemployment rate is 3.9%. There are 7.6 million unfilled jobs in the United States right now. Baby boomers are exiting the labor market en masse. Millennials are entering the labor market en masse. And all of these things are combining to create probably the most tight labor market we've ever seen. I recently read an article about a company that does solar panel installations. They had 90 installers at the beginning of 2018. The end of 2018, they had 55. It wasn't because they didn't have enough work for them, it was because their installers were poached away from them. But is it really the case that it is, quote, impossible? I mean, impossible means it can't be done. If that were the case, why is it that last year, 2.6 million new employment positions were accepted by people in the United States? And that 34% in a recent survey of over 1,000 people, 34% of the people who are currently working full-time jobs said they were actively looking for a new job. And 72% said, I'm not actively looking for a new job, but I'll tell you, if I saw something that fit me better and that I like better or whatever, I'd strongly consider changing jobs. Now, the point is that there are companies that are doing a good job with this. Now, in general, would you think that it's generally the larger companies that are doing a better job with this? Okay, it's not what I expected. What about anybody else? Now, that's a very important point that you're making, but something that I hope you'll come away from today's presentation with is that attracting the right people is only one of 3 steps that you have to take in order to hire and keep great people. And the other 2 are selecting the right people and developing and retaining those people. But every one of them is critical. And so you're right, they have resources. They have HR departments, they have recruiters, they have a lot of things. But it's been my experience, and I'll talk about my experience here shortly, that companies of all sizes blow this. They're terrible at it for all the reasons I'm going to talk about here. And the fact that you guys are small businesses, oftentimes we as small business owners think that that puts us at a disadvantage. We can't compete with the United States government. We can't compete with Amazon. We can't compete. But believe it or not, just like you're sitting here as entrepreneurs, because that's your choice rather than work for the government or Amazon, people are out there who prefer to work for smaller companies. They prefer to work closer to their home so that they don't have to commute. They're willing to give up a little bit of salary and benefits and a variety of other things if they can enjoy more quality of life. If you can bring things to them that they're not able to get now, you are not blocked out. And especially as you compete against other small business owners, the extent to which you develop your skills and know-how in this area and become really an awesome recruiter and manager of people, you're at a huge competitive advantage. So I'll give you a couple examples. A company outside of Atlanta, all things, they sell helicopter parts. But they have had absolutely no turnover in 24 months because they focus on who they are and what they are. Small company, family focused. They do offer a certain amount of health benefits, but one thing that a lot of times we can't do health benefits, it's too damn expensive. Well, what if you had a small team of really sharp people that you could trust to solve problems and take care of your customers and do all kinds of things, that 4 people could do the work of 5, and the salary for that 5th person went to pay for benefits for the other 4. Okay, this is part of thinking out of the box that I'm going to be asking you to be doing here today. This can be done. A company called Avid for Adventure is a summer camp company of all things. They started out as a one-man show, guy working out of his basement. Today he's $8 million a year top line. He's operating in Colorado and California. Here's the critical thing. When you think about a summer camp counselor, what comes to mind? I'm sorry? Seasonal, that's absolutely right. Another thing I want you to think about, you'd be surprised how many people are willing to work on a seasonal basis. And you don't have to pay them year-round. You may not be able to afford to pay them. We'll talk about knowing your numbers. Now, with this company, the biggest difference is usually you would think of people in their late teens or early 20s being camp counselors. All of his people are 25 years or older. And these people identify themselves as outdoor educators. And this is what they want as a career. So I could give you a lot of examples like this, but the point is that the people who are succeeding are understanding what it is that their target market, this is marketing. You're out there in the marketplace trying to attract these people to you, just like customers, just like you're trying to attract customers. Now, what's the real difference between the people who are doing well with this and those who are not? It comes down to three things. And these are the three sections of the presentation I'm going to give today. Mindset, skills, and systems. And my promise to you today is that you're going to be exposed to elements in all three of these areas that are going to allow you to go back to your business and do a better job hiring and keeping great people. Now, I'm often asked, especially by people who are thinking about hiring their first employee, what's your advice, Frank? What should I do? And my answer is always the same. You're going to think this is funny, and it is funny, but it's also true. I tell them, don't do it. Don't hire people. People are pain. People are a problem. People are expensive. People are needy. People want you to do this, this, and this for them. They expect to get paid every week, and then they want bonuses and benefits and all kinds of things. And then they never seem to do things the way that you wanted them to do. So the point is, you need to decide, do I really want to hire somebody? I like to put some levity in it because the fact is it's dead serious. I don't have time at today's presentation, but I've done a lot of research, and I've found that the average wage in the United States today is $21.43 per hour on an hourly basis. Does that sound low or high? All jobs. All jobs. You know, now there are people making millions of dollars a year, but there are not a lot of them. And so they don't impact the average as much as you might think. So the way that works out, and it's funny, too much for me to go back into, works out to almost exactly $4,000 a month when you add in FICA, unemployment tax, and all the other stuff. This is on a full-time W-2 basis. Okay? So think about it. $4,000 a month that you're just handing to this person every month that you could have been putting in your pocket every month. Is this something you're going to do unadvisedly? Is this something you just want to wing it? No, you have to take it seriously. But my point is that the vast majority of business owners that I've met, companies all sizes that I've worked for them, I consulted to them, myself as a business owner, they don't take it seriously. And that's the number one thing I want you to think about is changing your mindset. So, in order to give you an incentive to do this hard work, because I've got skills and I got systems I can share with you, but I can't change your mind. Okay? You have to decide whether you really want to do this or not. And again, my number one recommendation, don't. Don't do it. Find another line of work that doesn't require you to hire people. What I want to talk to you about here is, those of you who know me, you know I've done a lot of writing, I've done a lot of presenting, educating. I've studied entrepreneurship for a very long time. And I believe that the people who become entrepreneurs, just like everybody in this room, do it because they want more than what they had working for the man in a 40-hour job. They want more money. They want more creative expression in their work. They don't want to just sit down and do it this way every day because that's what the boss says. They want to do it their way. And they're also looking to get more time freedom. Now, does that make sense to you guys? Okay. More money. I want to do things my way. And I want to have more time for my family, vacations, and so forth. All right. With that in mind, excuse me, how's it worked out for you? Are you making more money than you were before in your 40-hour job? Do you have more time freedom? Are you doing things that you really enjoy instead of, for example, dealing with people, hiring people, and putting up with all of their nonsense all day long? The fact is, I wouldn't ask that question if I didn't know the answer. For the vast majority of us, no. We're working longer hours for less money and more stress, and fewer benefits, less vacation, and more of our capital is at risk than was the case when we were working 40-hour jobs. But imagine, as I said a minute ago, if you had a team that you could trust that would take care of problems for you as you went out in the field, as you went out on vacation, what have you. The fact is that all of us have made big mistakes in this area. It's very difficult, but we've not had the training. Where would you get the training? You might have gotten training in management when you were in college, but really the types of training that's offered in management in college only applies to larger organizations. I have a business degree myself. Might work for a big corporation, might work in a trade association, might work in the government, but it won't work here. So that's why I put this together, is to try to give you some training and give you some tools you can use. I have two goals for today's presentation. The first goal is to convince you that you can do this. The tools are out there. People are doing it. People are hiring great people that are staying with them for months and years every day right now in companies just like yours and just your size. You can do this. It can be done. The second goal, though, that I want for you is for you to agree it must be done. If I want to achieve the goals that I have of more money, more time freedom, and more creativity, I've got to address this and I've got to move forward with it. So, all right, shield your eyes. It's not a good time for you to take a photograph. I want to tell you a little bit about my background right now. This picture was taken, you were asking me about this earlier, Greg. This picture was taken, I think, in 1995, 1996. So I'd already been running this company for 13 years. So this wise guy at this time had about 10 employees. And we also were doing, at that point, just over $1 million in top-line sales at the printing company, which was a big deal back then, and it's still a pretty good goal today. But I had learned a great deal at this point about how to manage employees and how to manage the numbers and so forth. But I want to give you a few statistics here. I have hired over 200 people for full-time, part-time, 1099, virtual, you name it, positions, and a variety of job descriptions, including factory workers, delivery drivers, graphic artists, videographers, musicians, magicians, admin assistants, office managers, salespeople, sales managers, you name it. And between the companies that I've run myself and those that I've consulted to on this, I've hired people in positions of media, printing and publishing, advertising, landscaping, construction, real estate, and home improvement. So home improvement and construction have a lot in common. I've paid out millions of dollars in salaries, benefits, and tax withholdings. I want it placed on my tombstone, made payroll for 728 consecutive weeks. I've done a lot of stuff that I feel helps qualify me to stand here before you today and talk to you about this. But one thing I want to point out that is really important is I am not an HR professional. Don't have any training in human resource management. I'm not an employment attorney. Okay, nothing you hear or see here today should be construed as legal advice. These are just ideas that are based on my experience that I want to share with you. Early in my career, I made a lot of mistakes. I wrote a lot of bad job ads. I performed a lot of bad interviews, and I made a lot of really bad hiring decisions. And over time, what I realized was I was doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results, but expecting different results. So that's the definition of... Okay, I looked this one up because a lot of people think that, I don't know, I wasn't there, that Einstein coined this term. It's actually the earliest citation of it is in a 1987 Anaheim, California Narcotics Anonymous organization. That doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. My opinion, especially speaking for myself, doing the same thing over and over again in business and expecting different results is the definition of stupidity. Okay? We have to break out of the mold. So what I did was I decided that I was going to start studying up on this. And I purchased an audio cassette class on how to write employment ads. And as you say, that's 20 plus years ago. We used to place ads in the newspaper. All right. And you could put about this much of an ad in for $200 or $300. It's very expensive. And that was for just a day or two. And if you really wanted to get to forget it, it's not going to happen. Well, nobody was responding to my ads. I kept posting $200, $300 ads. Nobody's responding. Anyway, so I took a course and I got better at it. And then I took another course about how to interview people in person, and I got better at it. And little by little, I got better and better, and I put together this system. But it really wasn't until we sold the printing company in 97. I started a .com company in 99, or 98, and the .com blew up in 99 or 2000. So all at once, I found myself with a 6-figure lifestyle and a 0-figure income. And I had to go get a job. So the best thing that ever happened to me relative to what I'm talking to you about today is I made all these hiring decisions before I ever had to go out and find a job. It was a family business that I was running. And I realized how poorly companies of all sizes, I interviewed with a credit union and a $400 million company and $10 million, you name it. They're all doing very poorly at it. And this is where I wanted to bring up my experience at that time. I did get a job as a salesperson for a home improvement company. And as a result of it, I wrote these 2 books. If you guys are looking for any help on hiring salespeople, we could talk about it separately, but I really have focused a lot on this. So what happened next was a friend of mine asked me, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, could I help him hire an admin position? He couldn't find somebody to stay. And so I applied what I'd learned to his admin position. We hired a great person. She was with him for 6 years. And he was so impressed with that, then we also hired a couple of part-time admin people to support her. Then he began referring me out to other people. And so then I helped a construction company owner who was working out of his basement at the time hire his head of production, and he grew then from wherever he was, under $1 million, to over $3 million a year, with his production manager at hand, and the company owner then went and took on all the sales positions, the sales duties. So then I thought, well, maybe I should give presentations like this about it. And then I thought, well, I've already produced 3 courses online. I have over 20,000 students enrolled in these marketing courses. Maybe this would make sense for an online course as well. So I have produced a course called How to Hire and Keep Great People. Now, I want to come back to this. I know this. I'm rubbing salt in the wound. But the fact is, my number one recommendation is don't do it. But if you're going to do it, if you're really serious about it, you got to do it with the right mindset, the right skills, and the right systems. Yes, sir.
How could you not hire people on one time? You still want to grow.
Okay, that's a good point. Here's the question. Let me just repeat the question for recording, and you can tell me whether I'm... So Jonathan's question is, how can I not hire people?
If we want to grow.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to talk at a later point in here about a book. It's called The E-Myth. And it has to do with the author's belief that the E-Myth is that business owners are entrepreneurs. And he defines entrepreneurship a lot differently than most of us would. But here's my answer to you is, don't go into that business. You have other businesses that you could go into. There are other places you could put your capital. There are other places you can invest your time and energy. You are a born entrepreneur. I told that to you when you and I had a one-to-one. I mean, it's just in your DNA. Most people don't have that. But that's an option. Now, here's another option. You can outsource. Okay, you can do the marketing, and you have other people do the work. Remember that picture? I'm sure, the difference in the color of my hair and everything else was what riveted your attention, but did you notice the giant machine that I had? Okay, that machine is called the Xerox DocuTech Publishing System. And I lost my behind by investing in that machine, but you could see how house proud I was of it. There was another guy, Bill Farquharson, who went out and marketed the work that a DocuTech would do and made a lot more money. He probably made 10 times the money I did. And he outsourced the actual work to slobs like me, who were on the hook to Xerox for $10,000 or $20,000 every month. There are a lot of options that you have. So the point is, this is a real rub. This is a real point of friction, hiring and keeping people. Is it something that you're willing to deal with? Or should you switch into something else? Now, Michael San Juan's business the same way. There is no way he can provide his services or grow without doing it. But I am telling you, you have options. Okay, I outsource. I work with arm's length relationships with editors and graphic artists and video people and web developers and all kinds of people. And I pay them on a 1099 basis. I don't have any, I am a full-time employee, and I use paychecks to run my payroll and that kind of stuff. But there is an option. And there are always ways to leverage technology. All right, so let's start with mindset. And I mentioned a minute ago that I can't make you change your mind. I can only share with you what I have observed are bad perspectives. Now, the first one is that most of the small business owners I've met look at employees as employees and not people. Okay, they see them as a worker. They write the job description. The successful candidate will, whatever. No, this is a person. You want to hire a worker. Unfortunately, the only people that are available are people. And so the number one thing you need to change your mind about is this person is not a widget in a machine. This is a person. And the idea of trying to train and manage a human being to perform a task or behave in a certain pattern on a consistent basis day after day is extremely difficult. So if you want them to do that, you have to work with them as a person and not as a generic employee. Who can tell me who this guy is? That is Coach K. All right, the next mindset thing I would like for you to keep in mind is that all relationships are temporary. Now, when you hire someone and they come to work for you, do you fear them leaving you? I always did. Okay, I put all this money into hiring them. I put all this hassle into recruiting them and selecting them and training them and onboarding them and, doing all the things I had to do, and then I'm worried they're going to leave. Guaranteed, they're going to leave. Okay, it's been my experience, again, 20 years. Really? People leave. People die. People decide they don't like you anymore. People get a better offer. The point is, it seems so obvious, but it isn't obvious. You need to come to this with the approach that you know they're going to leave. Here's how this fits with Coach K. When Coach K hires assistant coaches, one of the criteria he insists upon is that that coach is absolutely committed to being a head coach of their own team. As a result, he knows they're going to leave. In fact, he looks for people who are anxious to leave because he embraces this temporary thing. But what happens? As a result, he attracts the very best people. Okay? And can you imagine how much it helps your resume to say you were an assistant coach at Duke underneath Coach K and whether that's going to help you? And he teaches them everything he knows. He just lets it all go, teaches them everything he knows about being a successful basketball coach. And what do they do while they're there? They do everything they can to help that team win. He gives them everything they're looking for in their personal and professional lives. And as a result, they give him everything he's looking for in his basketball team. There's another thing. I have seen it done over and over again where small business owners, as I would say, hide their dirty laundry. They don't want to work for a company that's small like ours. They don't want to work for a company that's new like ours. They don't want to work for a company that's home-based like ours. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. You don't know what people want. Okay? There are people who want to work at a home-based business because it's right around the corner from their house, or right around the corner from their babysitter's house, or right around the corner from their kid's school. And things like that will keep them locked to you till that kid gets out of school. You never know what people want, but what happens is people try to fluff up the ad, make it look like they're a bigger company, a more established company, a whatever company, and then people show up. They sniff it out through the vetting process, but if they don't, and they come to work, it's not the job they signed up for. They don't want to be there. Not only do they realize that you're capable of playing a shell game with them, but it's not the job they wanted. And then the business owner wonders why they have such rapid turnover. You have to be absolutely crystal clear about what it is that this job is and what it is that you are. And you will find there's a thing called the law of resonance. If you put two pianos side by side of each other, and somebody sits at one of them and holds the sustain pedal that takes the thing off of the strings, and the other person hits middle C on the second piano, middle C will begin to resonate on the second piano or the first piano. The point is, people will resonate with your message, and they will be drawn to you like a needle coming out of a haystack to a magnet. If you're just clear about what this job is, what it pays, what's required, where you're located, who you are, what your mission is, I tell you, I've seen this done over and over again. Now, has anyone here ever heard of the X and Y styles of management? So, the X style of management is the beatings will continue until morale improves. And the manager micromanages every aspect of the person's day. They feel as though that worker can't be trusted. They're not smart. They can't make decisions. They're just whatever. They're just taking up space. But we still got to have them to go out there and do whatever it is. Those are not the kind of people you want, and that's not the kind of manager that you want to be. You want to be a Y-style manager, which is, this is the job I need to have done. These are the resources I'm going to give you to get it done. I need to have it done in 2 weeks. Do you have any questions? No? Great. Anything comes up, you need something from me, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing the job done in 2 weeks. Now, God only knows what's going to happen in 2 weeks. That's on you. And that's the whole thing. That's on the worker. Now, if they've done a poor job hiring you, that's on them. But if somebody has such trust in you and in your abilities and in your confidence to get a job done, it develops you right there. Makes you do better work. That's the approach. You need to look for those smart people. You need to give them every opportunity to succeed, and you need to trust them to get their own job done and trust them to make mistakes. Allow them to make mistakes. If someone's given responsibility for something without the authority to make decisions to get it done, they're never going to succeed. This is one that was big with me. You need to be willing to hire people who are smarter than you. I had a hiring, I was interviewing 2 women for a office manager position at my print shop. Both women had about 10 years experience in the industry. One of them was kind of gregarious and happy and whatever, and she'd had not really the greatest experience in terms of being an office manager, being a production manager. The other woman had worked for the largest company in the area, Balmar Printing, for 10 years. And she'd had direct production supervision and whatever. And she was very businesslike. I hired the other woman. Why? Because the second woman scared the crap out of me. I knew that she would quickly see that I didn't know what I was doing. She'd show me up. And it would be obvious to everybody that she knew more about printing than I did. But think about how stupid that was. She did know more about printing than I did. She knew about how Balmar had grown over the past 10 years, how much I could have learned from that woman, how much more quickly my company's growth could have accelerated. But I was intimidated by her. That's not smart. If you realize they're only going to be with you for a short period of time, you want the smartest, most creative, most energetic, best problem solvers you can find. I hope you understand, I'm really trying to rattle up your ideas about what a worker is. Let me ask you a question, and I'll just get general reactions to this. When you hire somebody on, have you ever taken the approach of like throwing barbells in front of them and they're trying to run the hurdles just to see how they'll react, see how they handle themselves? You ever been in that position yourself where your boss did that to you when you came to work? I'm surprised that nobody's ever seen it. I've seen it a lot. And where they try to do everything they can to disrupt the person early on to sort of vet them out. Well, you should have done that earlier on before you ever hired them. A really important mindset thing is to do everything you can to nurture and develop that person so that they can have early successes and early wins. It's important that you commit yourself to becoming an awesome manager. Now, every one of us has some great skill set that's allowed us to succeed to the level that we have today. For example, you might be a great salesperson, or you may really know the marketplace in terms of property values and whatever it is. But generally, we're strong in some areas and not as strong in other areas. We may be a great financial genius or what have you. What I'm saying to you goes back to the beginning of this. You need to commit yourself to bone up on this skill of being a great manager, being a great recruiter and being a great manager if you're going to keep dealing with these pesky employees. Otherwise, get out of it. So, with that in mind that you need to bone up your skills, let's talk about some specific skills. Anybody have any questions up to this point? Clear as crystal. Okay, this is a very important skill that you may not think relates to management and hiring, but it really does. You need to know your numbers. Who in here can tell me right off the top of their head what their percentage of their top line revenue, what percentage their labor expense is? Excellent. Do you know, what's the number? 0. Okay, good answer.
Percentage of labor is of my revenue.
22%. Excellent. Okay. Most business owners don't know that. And they wouldn't know what a good number or a bad number would be. You have to know. And the reason why is something called the surplus value of labor, which was an idea created by Karl Marx, the father of communism. Marx would refer to every person in this room as a capitalist, and he wouldn't mean it as a compliment. You, as a business owner, exploit labor. You hire people for $1 a day, but you're able to squeeze $2 a day worth of revenue out of them. And from Marx's approach, that would be you exploiting labor, and what you were getting in return was the surplus value of that person's labor. Well, if there weren't such a thing as a surplus value of labor, there would be no business, which means there would be no jobs. If I couldn't hire somebody for $1 and get $2, I wouldn't hire them. Let's say your number is 20%, just for the ease of arithmetic. That means for every dollar you pay them, you need to get $5, okay, in top-line revenue out of them. And another thing, though, is, I remember I was talking about the $22.43 or whatever it is per hour. Well, people don't produce work 40 hours a week. You know, they're taking a cigarette break, or they're going to the bathroom, they come in late, they leave early, they take a vacation, they got holidays, you know, whatever it is, sick day. Then you've got additional expenses, automobile, whatever. So you need to make sure your numbers, you got to know your numbers, that everything's being loaded in to what the cost of that person is, and then what that percentage should be, and then make sure that they're generating that multiple. Now, there are some companies where it's 33% is the cost of labor. That means they got to get $3 for every dollar. There are some companies like let's say like a landscaping company, maybe even like your company, where labor is a huge percentage, could even be half of your revenue. Part of this is, and it's a wholly different discussion, and everybody, as much as everybody hates everything I'm talking about now, when you start talking about learning how to read your income statement and balance sheet, that's when you're really going to see some people nodding off. But it's so important, it's critical, it's part of business acumen and knowing what you're doing. Here's something I'm probably sure you have not heard of, and it's called employer branding. Anyone heard of this? You heard of it? Okay. I had not heard of it. What it means is that just like we're out here marketing for employees, employers are building a brand. What's it like to work here? What's our company all about? What's our mission statement? What do the people feel like who work here now? What is this job like? And it's the kind of thing, especially for younger workers, they're going to really be attracted to this if this were in video format. And this is a company called Teachable. It's the platform I use for my online course. And they're doing employer branding. And it's something I think everybody should consider. It doesn't have to be a video, but you need to have some idea, what is your brand in the marketplace, in the labor market? I think this is something your company could really benefit from. What's different about working for us versus the 10,000 other people who are grabbing at you and trying to get you to come to work for them? Now, another skill that you really need to get good at is writing job descriptions and personality profiles. I have seen this over and over again. There's a company I know of that will go unnamed. Probably most of you would never have heard of it anyway, but it's a local family-owned company. They hire people. That person comes in, there's not even a title. They don't even know what their title is when they come to work there. There's no job description. There's no specific task that they're assigned. There's nobody specifically that they report to. Let's say the family's named Jones. They report to everybody whose name's Jones. Okay, and they do whatever we ask them to do from the morning till night, and that's it. That's a recipe for disaster, but in my experience, most small businesses are like that. You need to have very great clarity, and I'm telling you, it's another thing. When you get that clarity of what this job is, that's another resonance that'll reach out and speak to the person for whom that job is exactly what they're looking for. We've all heard the expression, there's someone for every job. It really is. I mean, for example, if I had to have a job where that involved bloodletting, it would never happen. Okay, I'd just pass out. But there are people who can do that. I can't understand it, how somebody could do that as a job. But for them, it's, and some people, they enjoy it, not only tolerate it. Okay, and now part of it is not just the tasks, not just the black and white of the job description, but also the personality profile. Now, if you're going to have somebody who's in a frontline position and they're going to be the director of first impressions for prospects and clients, that cannot be an introverted person. That needs to be somebody who's very sociable and outgoing. And when it comes to salespeople, I'm convinced there is no such thing as the salesman's personality, because I've seen people of all kinds, and in my books I write about, all kinds of different personalities succeed in sales. There are other attributes that are more important. But you can't be so introverted you can't speak to people, because that's the end of that. But I had a young lady working for me at the print shop who was the most fantastic production worker I've ever had. I mean, she came in every day. She was never sick. On time in, on time out. Don't ask me to do anything outside of that. You know, she was very regimented in everything she did, but even down to the way she would wrap a finished printed job so that it was beautiful and crisp was fantastic. But she also worked in a part of our shop that was exposed to the front counter where people came in. She wouldn't, not only would she not speak to them, she wouldn't even acknowledge them, which people took to be very rude. And it cost me, I had to hire another full-time person just to cover the counter. But the point I'm making is, and this is something you were talking about, I think you're going to have a hard time finding somebody who's going to be a great admin person, great with your clients, great rainmaker, able to review contracts, and what you're talking about is somebody just like you. So something I really stress a lot is being very crystal clear and specific of what this job description and the personality profile are. What you're speaking of is somebody who's a total entrepreneur and somebody who's just going to take on whatever life throws at them and they can take it. I think that person would probably start running their own business. Now here's another very important thing that most small business owners run away from, which is performance evaluations. It's always very nervous when you sit down with the employee, or if you're the employee, when you sit down with your boss for the annual performance evaluation. So what I teach in my course is the first performance evaluation happens on the first Monday after they started, when they finished a 5-day week. Don't expect anything from them. They've only been there a very short period of time. They may have made nothing but mistakes the first 5 days. But ask them, how's it going? How's things lining up with what you expected were going to happen? Are there any resources that I could give you that would help you do better? Is there anything that's a total mystery to you right now that I could clear up? Right? And you let them go back. And then you give them another evaluation in 30 days. At this point, you definitely want to start telling them what you think they can improve on, what you're happy to see, and so forth. Do another one in 90 days. And at that point, and part of what I build in anytime I hire somebody is a 90-day probationary period. Now, it used to be that you could prevent them from getting their health insurance until 90 days or all that kind of jazz. Well, now you don't get any health insurance. I don't care if you're here 10 years. Okay, so that's not going to work. But you do want to make it clear that the person can be terminated at any time for any reason in the first 90 days. After that, we'll talk about it later about terminating people. But it's important that they know that you're watching. Now, another thing I'll bring in right here is that I interviewed a guy, Frank Felker runs a big delivery company based in Texas called Jetco Delivery, and he's growing like mad. And they're having a hard time finding drivers, okay, that you hear about all the time. Trucking companies can't find drivers. Well, Frank Felker can. One of the things that he does is when you first come to work for him, he's on you like a mother hen, okay? And little by little, as you show that you can take responsibility or you are in a whack job or whatever, he starts walking it back until the 90 days come, and then at that point, he basically, as long as you understand what's expected of you, I'm out of your hair. Hope you enjoy your job. That's something that I think, again, if you're hiring the best people and the smartest people, that's an important approach to take. Now, another area where we have trouble is we could call coaching moments, when the employee has made a mistake. And it could be something very clear that they had been trained and specifically directed not to do or to do a different way or what have you. We all make mistakes. Again, this goes back to, you sure you want to hire people? Because people are the only ones available. People make mistakes. You have to be very careful about how you handle something like this. You can't go back to the guy who was screaming in the X style of management. You can, and I've seen people succeed with it. Another thing is, just like the reprimands, you want to take every opportunity to praise somebody when they've done something well. And you can think of these. Yes, sir.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I had a question. So how would you handle this? I have a friend of mine that has a larger IT firm, and his employee will not follow the process. And now one of his larger clients is complaining. I told the guy he needs to bench him, put him on some other department before you lose his client.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that situation when employees won't follow the process?
Well, I'll cut to something in a slide I'm going to do later. It has to do with terminating people. That guy needs to start going into the 3 strikes protocol. Told you once, and then you have to document it. And the person has to sign, not that they agree that they did it, but they are aware that this is the first strike. Okay? And at that point, a lot of things happen. They'll start looking for another job, and especially in the IT world, there's so much demand. But that guy's got to go. No two ways about it. I mean, you can do things your own way if you want to, but in the kind of business you're talking about, no, you can't. You got to follow the protocol. One thing I was about to say, and I'm glad I didn't forget this, you can think of these opportunities as like mini performance evaluations. Sit down in private, talk about it, tell them what you're thinking, tell them how they could have done better, ask them how I could have done better by you. Where did I drop the ball? What training, what resources could I have done, provided to you that would have helped you from doing this? How can we be sure you're not going to repeat it? You can look at it, as I say, as a mini performance evaluation. So this is it, termination. This is a very ticklish situation. How many people here have ever fired someone? Okay, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's really, and it's very emotionally charged, and it can get ugly very quickly. And especially these days, yes, sir.
I was given specific instructions from management not to fire people.
Yeah,
because of the fact that they could file for unemployment.
That's right. Now that's the least of your worries. Okay, but here's
It still happens. Yeah.
So how many people have ever been on the phone with the Employment Commission about somebody who's disputing? Okay, so you know what happens. The Employment Commission's like, okay, well, you got your paperwork, you got your 3 strikes, you've got it all documented, fax me the copies or email them to me, and we'll take that into consideration when we make our decision. They don't always rule in favor of the employee.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the conversation like who you hire or how do you hire them or whatever. And I think that was my mistake where I wasn't ready to hire an employee. Found that out sort of in the midst of the firing process. Because you sort of learn like I couldn't afford to hire anybody because it cost me a lot to fire them in a lot of ways, right? Because I am handling a conversation. When you immediately hire somebody, you do put a lot of your money, your huge amount of capital up front, I believe. At least I did. And then so when I said it was like, and now that I really stressed the concept of associate or like you said, outsourcing other things, separate 1099, everything now, including the associate where I do the mentor coaching session. But when it comes to wages, your wages just have to be just completely directed to your performance. It's a performance-based. I'm learning my business has to be a performance-based system because if not, I'm not ready to hire.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't make business sense.
But I didn't know that until I tried. Because it kept me up.
Well, that's the thing.
It was really very hard.
We all learn by our mistakes, and this is how I became an expert.
Yeah, should have taken this 12 months, 13 months.
All right, I'm going to have to pick it up here a little bit, but how many people have ever seen this book? All right, so there are 3 hats that this guy refers to. The entrepreneur, or let's start from the front line. The front line person is the technician. That would be Jonathan's person who's picking up furniture or picking up junk. Then there's a manager, which maybe you're a better example. You're looking for frontline technicians. You're looking for managers.
Right.
And then above that is the entrepreneur. And so we're basically been talking about hiring technicians in this presentation. But it's important that you know which hat you're wearing and which hat you're hiring for. And so the manager is the one who hires, manages, and fires the technicians. And the entrepreneur is the one who hires, manages, and fires the managers. And this is the E myth, because when he talks about an E entrepreneur, he's talking about somebody like a Richard Branson, or somebody you see on Shark Tank. Somebody who can operate multiple businesses using the same principles, but they don't have to know how to seal off a crawl space. They don't have to know how to clean ducts or whatever else. You need to be clear on which role you not only are playing now, but which you want to play and which one you're hiring for, because this will fit into the job description and the personality profile. You have to be focused on training and development. It's an old joke that business owners fear. Well, you get two choices. You can either invest in training and development and be afraid that your employees leave you, or you can not invest in training and development and be afraid that your employees stay with you. Okay? You got no other option. The Y-style manager pours everything they can into that person's brain. And it doesn't even have to do with their business. Think about if you spent, I'm a musician, if somebody would pay $300 or $400 a month for me to take one hour guitar lesson a week with a top guitar teacher after hours as part of my benefits package, I might stay with that person till kingdom come. Okay? And this is part of the vetting process. What is this person looking for in their life? So the training and development doesn't only have to be learning more about airline schedules or anything. It could be anything. The people you want to hire want self-development. And the people who shun self-development, you don't want them working for you. All right, I'm going to have to go through this quickly. So you need to be systematic in everything you do. You don't want to be reinventing the wheel every time. Okay, you need to have your ads templated. You need to know what the online job boards and hiring platforms are you're using and how to use them. Writing job ads is a big part of it, and it's something I spend a lot of time in my course about. You need to know how to vet quickly and efficiently through the responses you get to your ads.
Can I ask you, Craigslist? Is that an odd place to put like a...
That's where I place all ads.
Oh, you do
yeah.
really? Okay.
In my course, I show exactly the way I write a Craigslist ad. I show that I don't put in a logo or any graphics of the company. Yeah. I don't even put the name of the company in there. Yeah. I make it very simple. You just click the reply here button, and this is how you reply. This is what will happen next. And I show how I vet through it. You've got to have a systematic approach. Otherwise, you'd be spending your whole life doing this. Well, one of the things I'm going to be doing as my course expands is I'm going to be interviewing people from all these platforms. And I'm going to be interviewing also frontline people, like you and I have talked a couple of times. I want to understand where are you confused? Have you tried this platform? What was your experience? But right now, and I started with the most simple thing, nothing but text, no photographs, no graphics, no links, nothing. No phone number.
The reason not to have your the name of your company is because of, I have an idea, but I'm not sure why.
Because I want them to look at the job. Okay? I'm talking one-to-one, me to you, my avatar for this job, my job description, my personality profile. This is a conversation between me and you. If you choose to invest in the course, you'll see all this stuff. And I would talk more about it, but I'm sure that you guys don't want to stay here the rest of the day. You also need to develop your skills in interviewing people. Okay, I can't tell you how many bad interviews I've performed and bad interviews I've been on the other side of the table of. It was very interesting to me, after having made all these hiring decisions, to be in the applicant seat and watching these people and just watching what they do. And the number one thing they do is they talk too much. And, I'm a real smart guy, and we've been doing this a long time, and I really know what I'm doing. And, and you're sitting there as the applicant. Well, that's great. It's really good. And then by the end of the conversation, they haven't even asked you anything. And so they don't really have any impression of you, other than if you smile and nod consistently, they'll feel that you were an excellent conversationalist. But other than that, they don't know much about you. But this is a tremendous skill that has to be developed. I really appreciate you guys coming out today, and any feedback you can give me, whether positive, negative, it's all constructive. I'm Frank Felker, creator of the online masterclass, How to Hire and Keep Great People. I also provide a variety of related services, including producing video job postings, employer branding, and management and hiring skills coaching for business owners. Of course, I'm always excited to speak to your group about my favorite topic, how to hire and keep great people.